Hi, this is Anthony Gucciardi, and these days it is very hard for me to be truly shocked at a news piece or recent finding. I was really shocked though when I found out that someone I knew personally had actually been using a doctor-recommended toothpaste that contained a whopping 5,000 parts per million sodium fluoride. To put it into perspective for you, that's 5,000 times or 5,000% higher than the amount of fluoride that's been linked by leading medical professionals to a 25% increased tumor growth rate, the cultivation of cancer cells, and of course IQ reduction across the board. And that's just 1 part per million. This is 5,000. Now, to put it into history perspective here, it was Dr. Dean Burke who first broke the negative effects back in 1977 of fluoride, stating about 10,000 had died from sodium fluoride exposure. This again is talking about extremely quote-unquote low level of 1 parts per million. That's 5,000% less, or 4,999% less than this 5,000 parts per million. Coincidentally, after revealing these findings to the National Cancer Institute, they chose to withhold them until 1989 when they ultimately released them, but without any formal press release or real announcement that drew much attention. People found out about it anyway. And the findings showed that animals who consumed the fluoridated water developed an increase in tumors, a rare form of bone cancer, an increase in thyroid cell tumors, a rare form of liver cancer, and so on. Dr. Burke also stated later in an interview that fluoride death count numbers are more like 70,000 across the board from cancers, and that fluoridation of the water supply is a killer crime. Here's the video.
Now, Dr. Burke, your research shows that if all of the United States had been fluoridated, that would mean about 70,000 extra deaths because of cancer per annum. Those are remarkable, impressive, and in fact rather disquieting figures. Could you shortly describe your research in this field and what results did you get from it?
Yes. The 70,000, of course, would represent 1/5 of all the cancer deaths in the United States, twice as many from breast cancer in women, and twice as many as from lung cancer in man. Our studies involved comparing the deaths of all persons in the 10 largest fluoridated cities of the United States with the 10 largest non-fluoridated cities in the United States year by year. And we obtained a very remarkable curve, which you can see here perhaps. Here is the fluoridated, and here is the non-fluoridated set of 10 cities each. Here's where the fluoridation started, and before this time, both sets of cities were identical. But no sooner had fluoridation started than this curve began to go up, the deaths began to increase, so that this effect occurs very promptly within 1, 2, or 5 years.
Now this, sir, is conclusive evidence that fluor kills because of cancer.
It is one of the most conclusive bits of scientific and biological evidence that I have come across in my 50 years in the field of cancer research.
Would this then, in your opinion, be the end of fluor in water, in drinking water?
It should be the end, and in the United States, it should so be the end by federal law known as the Delaney Amendment, which says that anything found to induce cancer in man or animals cannot be legally put into the food or drink of man or animals.
And of course, beyond Dr. Burke, we also have Harvard University admitting that fluoride does indeed lower IQ across the board and damage neurodevelopment in children. This is particularly concerning when you consider the fact that pregnant women drinking fluoride are actually damaging their baby before it's even born. It was published in the Environmental Health Perspectives, and that, of course, is a federal government medical journal, in which Harvard researchers found that, quote, the children in high areas had significantly lower IQ than those who lived in low fluoride areas. It is no longer debated that fluoride lowers IQ, causes serious problems, and actually corrodes your pineal gland, which is considered your, quote, spiritual rod. It's no doubt, then, that fluoride is essentially dampening the minds of the masses through the use of such insane amounts of fluoride in these toothpastes, as well as the drinking water. The EPA even acknowledges this, as well as others, saying that it damages the placenta and neurodevelopment of babies. It's time to completely stop drinking fluoridated water, and it's time to call for the government to lower levels to absolute zero. After all, there's 0 point in having it in the water, considering that vitamin D is actually way more effective than fluoride, which is not effective at all, in preventing cavities and strengthening teeth, which you can get by going outside during the summer times for free or spending $2 on a vitamin D3 supplement. So in closing, there is no reason for fluoride, and I am absolutely shocked that anyone would be using a 5,000 part per million, 5,000% increased damage of the 1 part per million toothpaste that is currently on the market.